That's such an amazing...
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to see you at the Happy Place. Sit on down. It is another beautiful day in the Happy Place. And I am so glad to see all y'all beautiful faces. You look so good. Yes, you do. Y'all seem like y'all feeling good. I like to think so, but I could tell by the energy. It's just amazing, the energy you guys bring in. Every time I walk out those doors and see your faces and feel all that beautiful energy, it lifts me up like you could never imagine. So I just want to say thank you for that. Now, we have a great show today, so let's dive on in. Here we go. Now, you know, I was just thinking, like, I feel like my life is like living the impossible dream at times, you know? And it makes me think of my childhood when I was growing up and thinking about the women that's been such a huge inspiration, you know, in my life. And the first person that comes to mind, of course, is my mother, you know? Miss Darnell Darlington. I always wanted that as my nickname, Doll. They call her Doll in the family. But my mother was very quiet. Ooh, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna try not to cry. It's an emotional day. And she used to always tell all her children, whatever you put your mind to, you can do it. So when I sit back and I look at my life, I think like, wow, I'm so glad I listened to my mama. You know what I mean? Because I've been blessed to achieve so many things. It was my mom who told me, Jenny, I think you should go audition for American Idol. Yeah, it was. And I said, okay, Mom, I'm gonna go try it. And when I did, before I did, I used to sit in my mother's hallway in the house, and I would sing Whitney Houston songs. Who would have ever thought that one day Whitney Houston would present me my first Grammy? And it was my mom, you know, that mother figure, the power, the impact of the women that I was blessed to grow up around, that inspired me to have the courage to even audition. And then looking up to Whitney Houston, who was another one of those powerful women that inspired me as a little girl, dreaming up a dream to be a singer. And then when I did go audition for American Idol, I sang a song by one of the other greatest singer in the world, who's yet another powerful iconic, legendary woman, Miss Aretha Franklin. And on that show, I sang, my audition song was an Aretha Franklin song. That was my introduction to the world. Just from that little seed that my mother planted in us as children, saying whatever you put your mind to, you can do it. So off of that little bit of seed, I believed that. And when I auditioned for American Idol and sang that song, I never would have guessed that Miss Aretha Franklin would be watching. And then after that, after I was eliminated from American Idol, I had my first sit-down meeting with her to play her in the film. And she said, it is you who I want to play me in the film. And 15 years later, I get to play the amazing, iconic Miss Aretha Franklin. But do you see that the common denominator is all of those powerful, impactful women that inspired me to dream a dream, that impossible dream, to be able to achieve that dream. And another one I can't forget is Miss Oprah Winfrey, who obviously we all love, and I grew up around looking up to her. And she's a part of just our culture, our households, and eventually became a very close friend and inspiration. And to now be here to have my own talk show, try to be, get me a little opportunity. All of those women have inspired me so much today to follow my dreams. And with that being said, and now my mother used to say, if you think you've seen it all, keep on living. And I say, when I continue to see things, I say, well, Mama, I must be living because I am seeing it all, okay? And I can't believe it. So I can't believe that I get to say, this. My guest today is the first female vice president of the United States. Please welcome Vice President Kamala Harris. Y'all see what God can do? Do you see what I mean? I almost don't even. I have to say this. First of all, welcome to the happy place.
I'm so happy to be in the happy place.
Thank you. Right? I have to ask, out of all the places you could be, why did you choose to stop by the happy place?
Why wouldn't one go to the happy place? We search for the happy place. I'm so happy to be with you, truly.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everything that you are doing and the powerful representation that you are.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be with you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Now,
yes,
I have to ask.
Okay.
Are you used to it? How does it feel being introduced as the vice president? Are you used to that yet?
You know, it's a great honor. And, you know, I heard your monologue about your mother, and I had a very similar relationship with my mother. And my mother would say to me, since the earliest stages of my life, she'd say, Kamala, you may be the first to do many things. Make sure you're not the last. So I think of this as, you know, I always carry my mother with me.
Yes.
And when I think about the position I have now, it really is through the lens of carrying the full weight of the responsibility to make sure that the door stays open and wider, and that the path stays open and wider for all those who will come.
Yes. When and where did it hit you when you first got elected? Has it settled in?
It did. I mean, you know, as it turned out, I think it caught a lot of attention when I first talked to the president. We did it, Joe.
Yes, I was waiting for you to say it.
We did it, Joe. And I'll actually never forget that day because my...
There it is.
Oh, you have it?
Oh, of course we got it.
Yeah, no, it was quite a day, and so I'd been working out that day. I try to work out every morning, just half an hour, but it's, you know, for mind and body.
I totally understand.
And so I just finished working out, and my husband we worked out together, and then he went to take a walk to cool down, and then I did the call with the president, and that was probably when it first hit us, because remember, we had some time to wait after the election while the votes were being counted. But that was probably the first day that it really hit me in a substantial way.
I understand that. Wow. What do you miss most about your old life?
Well, you know, we used to take nice, quiet walks. You know, I love The Godfather. You know, the movie's The Godfather. And have you watched The Godfather?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you know that one scene after Michael is at the restaurant, and then he has to leave New York because he's got to get away, and he goes to Italy, and then he's courting this young woman, and they're taking this wonderful walk, and the shot is on just the two of them taking a wonderful walk, and then the shot pans out, and the whole village is on the walk with them.
Oh my God.
That's sometimes what it's like if Doug and I take a walk together.
Oh my God. Could you imagine? Oh my God.
So it's a little different, but we still, you know, we're home right now in LA, and when I'm home, Sunday family dinner is a requisite. Everybody knows, and so the kids, if they're in town, if they want to invite people, but Sunday family dinner is my thing to stay focused and to keep some normalcy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you cook?
I am a very good cook.
You're a very good cook.
Yes, I am. And it is part of my, one day I'm gonna write a cookbook, but I've started to actually write my recipes because the kids, my husband will always say, why don't you write down your recipes?
Yeah.
And I've realized I probably should start doing that. The family joke is that if somebody asks me for the recipe, I'll just say, well, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We want to try some of your cooking, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
Get a meal. How about driving? Do you miss driving?
I do miss driving. I think I'm going to be testing out an electric vehicle soon.
Oh, okay.
But the funny thing is I had to ask my team, I said, can somebody make sure that my driver's license is still valid? That would be a whole situation, of course.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna ask you where would you go. I ain't gonna do that. But that would be interesting. Can you stick around for a little bit?
Yes, of course.
All right. More with the Vice President. We'll be right back. We're back with Vice President Kamala Harris.
Now, you're not the only one breaking down barriers in your family. Your husband is the second gentleman
Yes.
we've ever had. Like, second gentleman. How does it feel to see him in that role?
I'm so proud of him. You know, my husband is somebody who worked for everything he has his entire life. And when I became vice president, he stepped back from his career as a lawyer, and he is doing this full time. He's also teaching a law school class. But he really has taken on the responsibility of doing many things. He's taking on the issue of hate and anti-Semitism and hate that's just so pervasive. Yeah. And he feels a sense of responsibility to model what it means to be a supportive spouse, whatever your gender, right? But to challenge notions of who is a supportive spouse based on gender, right? And I think that's important.
It is.
I think that's important.
It's amazing. And you guys met on a blind date?
We met on a blind date.
Oh.
So my best friend called me one day and said, I met him, I think it's it. I think you just need to, don't Google him, just go out with him. You know, my best friend is, as probably the case for most of our best friends, is quite bossy. And so we went out, the first date was a blind date, and the rest is history.
Yes, it is. Truly history. Oh my God.
That was actually one of our dates.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I think this is the sweetest thing. You still have his first voicemail that he ever left you?
I do. Isn't
that sweet?
I actually do. Because, you know, it just rambled on and on and on. And it was just the cutest thing. I mean, he just kept going and going and, okay, well, I guess I'll talk to you at some point. And he just kept going. We'd laugh about it, but I did. It's the sweetest thing ever.
Love that.
It's so sweet.
It's adorable. Can you stick around for a little bit?
Yes, of course.
All right. More with the Vice President. We'll be right back. We're back with the Vice President of the United States. Woo. All right. Recently, you were in Nashville where there was a mass shooting. And then more shootings happened over the weekend. I would like to read a few of the statistics from gun violence, which is not easy for me. There have been over 160 shootings this year, and it's only April. Guns are now the leading cause of death of kids in America.
No.
A new survey says 1 in 5 Americans have lost a family member to gun violence, including myself.
Yes.
Also, 1 in 6 Americans have witnessed a shooting. Among Black adults, it's 1 in 3.
And for Black Americans, only 13% of the population, but 60% of the gun deaths. You know, your voice is so important on this, and through the tragedy that you experienced. I mean, I remember when it happened, and I remember how you talked about it then. You know, I was the elected DA of San Francisco. I was the Attorney General of California. I ran the second largest Department of Justice in the United States. And when I look at the tragedies all over our country that have affected so many people so personally, and the senseless nature of it all. Right. Because here's the thing. First of all, we shouldn't have to be presented with this false choice, which suggests you're either in favor of the Second Amendment or you want reasonable gun safety laws. That's a false choice. The point is to say, it is reasonable that we would have background checks because it is reasonable that you might want to know if someone has been found by a court to be a danger to themselves or others before they can buy a gun. It's just reasonable. It's just reasonable. It is reasonable to say that weapons of war have no place on the streets of America. And by that, I mean assault weapons. Weapons of war. They were literally designed to be weapons of war. We need an assault weapons ban. These are reasonable things to do. And, you know, also, you know, we look at our children. You know, there's so many of us were blessed to grow up at a time where we did not have the experience that the children of America are having right now, which is, as they are learning to read and write, they are literally being taught, this is how you hide and be quiet. If there is a rampant gunman, if there is a mass shooting happening in your classroom. So our children are sitting in classrooms. And I've talked to so many of our children and their teachers. So the kids will know, well, this classroom does have a closet. And that's where it's located. I don't like going to X period because that classroom doesn't have a closet. They sit in class and they're thinking, okay, is my back to the door? While our babies should be just enthralled in the wonders of science and math and art and all the things they can learn, the trauma that is resulting in terms of just that experience that the children of America are having, much less those who have been directly affected. And I just think it is pitiful that the people in the United States Congress do not have the courage to stand up and stand up to the gun lobby, stand up to the NRA, and say, look, I support the Second Amendment, but we need reasonable gun safety laws. Have the courage. You know, and I went down, like you said, I went down to Tennessee, and I mean, again, that was a case where 9-year-old babies were killed. And then 3 of the people who were involved in their school, working at the school, were killed. And then these they call them the Tennessee 3. These 2 young legislators who are in their 20s and another, Gloria, and they stood up and they insisted that the voices and the cries and the demands of the families and the students and the teachers and the preachers would be heard. And you know what happened? These other legislators turned off their mic. Didn't even entertain debating the issue. Like, debate the issue.
Right.
If you got something to say, but don't silence the people. Don't silence the people.
That is so true. What do you say to people wanting younger leaders today?
Oh, we need our young leaders. We need our young leaders to lead. And I say it everywhere I go. You know, I am a child of parents who met when they were active in the civil rights movement. Some of the greatest, if not all, the movements in our nation that have been about progress have been led by our young leaders. We need them. We need them. And I look at, you know, those 2 young legislators in Tennessee. I look at the March for Our Lives. I look at all, they're young because they're saying, you know, if y'all can't figure this out, we're gonna march and we're gonna protest and we're gonna do whatever we need to do.
And they're affected, so they should have a voice.
Right, their lives are on the line.
That is true. Whew. Will you stick around a little bit longer?
Yes, I will.
All right, more with the Vice President. We'll be right back. We're back with the Vice President, Kamala Harris. Something else you're passionate about is about choice.
Yes.
There's so much in the news lately. Many women are confused and scared they don't know what to do. Like, what do you say to them?
Well, so here's what has happened in our lifetime. The highest court in our land, the United States Supreme Court, took a constitutional right that had been recognized from the women of America. And by undoing Roe v. Wade, basically made a statement that the government is in a better position to tell women what to do with their own bodies than that woman is. And here's the thing that I think has to be said about this issue. One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree that the government should not be telling her what to do with her body.
That is so true.
Yeah, and I think that this just, it troubles me so when we see what is happening in different places in our country, which is really about rolling back progress. You know, the strength of our country has in so many ways been about our continuous path toward the expansion of rights. And now we're seeing these extremist so-called leaders who are trying to restrict rights. And on this issue, there's a simple point at play as far as I'm concerned. Trust women to make decisions about what is in their best interest. Yes. Right? And if they choose with their priest, with their pastor, with their rabbi, with whomever they choose, but trust her.
Trust her. Trust her. I like that. And a lot of Black women and minorities are dying during pregnancy, given, related issues.
It's a big issue. So this is something I've worked on for years, and in particular the issue of Black maternal mortality. Black women in our country are 3 times more likely to die in connection with childbirth than other women. Native women, twice as likely. Rural women, 1.5 times more likely. And part of the issue, especially when it relates to Black women and Native women, is that they walk into the hospital or the clinic or the doctor's office and they're just not taken as seriously. And so the work that I've been doing is to really lift this issue up, because I think we should all agree with those statistics and knowing that we have some of the worst outcomes for maternal health and mortality of any so-called advanced nation. For shame. And so part of the work that I've been doing is to raise this issue and then to put resources into, for example, what we need to do to train healthcare providers about racial bias. Doing the work of also uplifting one profession that in particular I think should always be uplifted, which are doulas. And Yes. And so part of how we wrote it into the work that we've been doing is I said, okay, of the trainers that should train all the other healthcare providers, the doulas should be trainers.
Yes.
Because that's about community-based healthcare that is, for what should be a very joyful moment in a person's life, giving them that joy and allowing them to have that joy because they are treated with dignity and with respect.
As they should be.
As they should be.
As they should be. And now, your passion about women's health comes from your mom, right?
Yes.
That's beautiful.
So my mother, she had 2 goals in her life: to raise her 2 daughters and to end breast cancer. So my mother was, so I called my mother Mommy. So my mother was one of the very few women of color who was in breast cancer research. And, she would work at the lab long days and on weekends and was so passionate and would come home sometimes very upset with how women were being treated as it relates to their reproductive health care.
Yeah.
And so at the earliest stages of my life, I was exposed to these issues without really knowing how much I was absorbing, but how deeply it makes me feel about the importance of women's health care.
What do you think she would say if she could see you now?
She would say, Kamala, you keep fighting.
You keep fighting. Listen to your mama. All right, we have a special treat for the Vice President when we come back. We're back with Vice President Kamala Harris. Well, I couldn't have such an amazing guest here today and not have our resident 10-year-old reporter here to do an interview. He's one of our favorite kids, and I can't wait for this. Please welcome from Las Vegas, Jeremiah. Come on out. Right there. All right. Now, Jeremiah, before you start, do you think this is the biggest interview you've done yet? Because you've done a lot.
I mean, the Vice President of the United States is kind of a big deal, so yeah.
And I'm sure you did your research, right?
Yeah.
All right, you ready to take it away?
Go easy on me now.
Uh-oh.
Go easy on me.
Okay, so first things first, let's clear something up. So you were born in Oakland, California, right?
Yes, I was.
But if I understand correctly, you're a San Francisco 49ers fan, right?
Correct.
So did it matter one way or another when my Raiders moved to Las Vegas?
It did.
Because it was a pretty big deal for me. It changed my life, so.
Kind of changed my life, too.
And speaking of football,
yes.
Your husband is always supportive of you, and you guys have great chemistry. You guys support each other in almost every aspect of life, except for sports, of course.
Yeah.
So, do you guys ever bet a friendly wager on the games when rooting for opposing teams?
Let me just say that we talk a lot of stuff.
So, I was around 4 years old when I knew that I wanted to be a journalist. At what age did you fall in love with the law and politics?
You know, I was very young, probably around that age, because my parents were active in civil rights, and the heroes, among the heroes of that movement were Thurgood Marshall and Charles Hamilton Houston and Constance Baker Motley. They were the lawyers who took the passion from the streets to the courtrooms to fight for equality and justice. And so I thought, okay, that's what I want to do. So I was very young. I was about your age.
So I'm 10 years old, and my parents always tell me that if I stay focused, work hard, and follow my passion, I can do whatever I want to do in life.
Yes.
So knowing all of the knowledge that you know now, what would you say to your 10-year-old self about pursuing your dreams?
I would say, don't you hear no? That it can't be done, or nobody like you has done it, or oh, you're too young, or oh, they're not ready for you. Don't hear no, because you know my saying? I eat no for breakfast.
We like that. Yes.
So you are the head of the National Space Council.
Yes.
Would you go into space if you had the chance? And if so, what is the maximum amount of time you'd be willing to stay out there for?
Is that a request? I would go to space if I could. I actually, and there are people on my team who do know that, but sadly, I think that there are those who would prefer that I would stay on Earth for the time being.
Hey, but if you go and they let you be a +1, can I be that +1? Yes. Yes. Okay, I only have 2 more questions left.
Okay.
So, what would you say to the American people with all of this misinformation and controversies going on about rigged elections? What would you say to the American people out there that are not planning on going to the polls next year because they believe their vote doesn't count?
Jeremiah, that is such a good topic to raise.
I knew who to call.
That is such a good topic to raise. Your vote is your voice, and it's the way that we uphold our system of democracy, which is very special, but it's fragile. It will only be as strong as our willingness to fight for it.
You hear that?
All right, so my final question is,
Yes.
what advice do you have to the kids that want to grow up and be president or vice president?
Follow your passion, because all said and done, if you are fortunate enough, you're gonna work very hard, and when you do the work that you enjoy doing, you do it well, and all the other things come.
Thank you so much for talking to me, Madam Vice President Kamala Harris.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
Isn't he precious? Aww. Didn't he do a wonderful job? You're awesome, Jeremiah. All right, more with the Vice President. We'll be right back. We're back with the Vice President, Kamala Harris. I heard you brought me something.
I brought you something.
You did?
I heard that you collect mugs.
Yes, ma'am.
So, there it is.
Oh, my God. Oh, do I get to open it?
What do you think it
is? Listen. Y'all see this? I am official. Oh, my God. You know, thank you so much for this.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna put it right here in a special spot. Don't nobody touch it now. I'm watching you. And don't worry about what I'm gonna sip out of it either, okay? Thank you so much for that. That is a treat, and I'm keeping the bag. Can you autograph the bag for me?
Of course.
Okay, I'm gonna put it right there for now. Now, as we know, it's so much negativity going on in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm wondering from you, like, and I know you see so much more than what we see. How do you find a positive?
Jeremiah. Right? Really? I travel the country and I travel the world, but traveling our country, is in particular meeting with our young people, the sparkle in their eyes, the hope, the faith that they carry with them inspires, I'm sure, all of us.
Yes.
It has to, and it is for them that there is so much in terms of our responsibilities to do right and to do good. Right. And there are many rewards to that. You know, looking at Jeremiah and how enthusiastic he is and how smart he is and how confident he is. Oh, to invest in our future in that way, what could be better?
What could be better?
What could be better?
What could be better?
You know?
Listen, you know what? And that's what you've done for so many, and someone here wants to say something to you. Now, it's a member of the crew, Run, over here. Here you go, Run. Everybody say hi.
Well, Vice President Harris, I'm glad they gave me the opportunity to say thank you. You might not remember it, but you were here at Warner Brothers for a TV show. I got to come in the room to mic you, and I walked in the room, and I happened to be wearing Proud Howard gear. And I had my shirt, and you looked at me and laughed, and you said, "Did you do that for me?" And I said, "Well, kinda." But my daughter had just been accepted and was going to Howard, and you quickly said, "You gotta tell me how she likes it." And I said, I hate to say it, but she's from California. The first time she's ever left home, she's nervous, scared, and she's trying to figure it out. And you sat down and told me, hey, you got to listen to my story. And you told me how it was when you first went to the school and how when you started, how you went in, and then when you came out, how you felt. Mm-hmm. And you said, I have to have her number. I want to call. I want to talk to her. And it was amazing because not only did you get her number, you did call her and you brought her to your office. Yeah. And she got to spend a day with you, and it was great because after spending that day, she called and we could hear in her voice, she was a changed person. And she went through school, graduated with honors, and it's all because of spending a little time with you. She'll never forget that.
Yeah,
it's been the best part of her college
really
experience.
Fantastic. Oh, that's congratulations. Congratulations. Wow. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm calling her again.
Thank you, Ron. Now, this is the impact that you have. You know what I mean? You've inspired so many of us. You know, just to come here and spend time with us at the Happy Place It's inspiring me, and I'm sure so many others. So we all want to thank you, as a Black woman, as a woman. You know, you represent all of us, and you're paving the way and showing us just how far we can go. And we just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
And we honor you.
Thank you.
And I'm so humbled to have you here. So thank you. It means the world to me. Child, my mama said you sing it all. Just keep on living. Now. One more thing before we go. Can you say, we did it, Jen? Can you do that for me?
Come on, let's pretend we're on the phone.
Okay. Oh my God. Like,
We did it, Jen!
we did it, Jen! I just want to do it, y'all. We'll be right back. If you like this video, smash that like button and subscribe to the Jennifer Hudson Show YouTube channel. Check your local listings or visit jenniferhudsonshow.com to see when you can watch full episodes in your area. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter.